What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we did get a big time tease on Twitter for Halo Infinite. At least that's what it appears to be for, being tweeted out by the Halo Twitter handle. But there were some very interesting things that were revealed in this tweet. There was an audio message that they had to kind of give us an idea as to some of the story elements and some of the characters maybe. We'll talk about that and why it could also be referencing that July event for Microsoft to be a bit sooner, maybe the beginning of July. Also, Sony is partnering up with hackers to make sure that the PlayStation Network is fairly secure, we'll say. And I heard there was a brand new Pokemon game announced, Pokemon Unite, so that could be good, except, oh wait, it's done by Tencent, and it's for mobile phones. Yeah, this should be good. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if brand new here, hit the red subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're gonna start today with Xbox Lockhart, which has been, it's like the worst kept secret at this point, right? Most of us expect Microsoft to showcase a cheaper version of the Xbox Series X, possibly in a few weeks at this July event, but more and more evidence continues to mount to the point where, yeah, I think Microsoft is going to unveil it, possibly even before the July event. Does it have to be there? Not necessarily. I mean, they might want to do what Sony did where they showed the PS5 and then it kind of did this big camera, switch, and then, oh wait, now there's two of them and one of them is all digital. Microsoft might do that, but they would have to be ready, I think, to unveil the pricing. Otherwise, it'll be kind of strange because it will just be seemingly a weaker Xbox Series X. But you can see the tweet here. This was put out by Title OS over on Twitter, saying more proof of Lockhart, this time from the XDK GDK release notes for June 2020, showing what is maybe one of the funnier typos in an SDK that appears to say lock hard. Yes, that's great, but it does further down in the documentation then mention Lockhart profile, so it appears that it's just kind of getting developers ready to go so that they can have their games essentially scaled down to be a weaker system, but still on the same architecture with RDNA 2, and I'm sure comparable CPUs. But as long as the price is good, like 300, that's something that Sony cannot match in terms of their pricing, and it should at least give Microsoft an advantage going into next gen to have the cheapest hardware you can buy at the time to get into next gen. Also, we did see gameplay for Marvel's Avengers yesterday, and I gotta say, I'm not really sold on the game. They showed gameplay, I saw for Thor, for example, running through a bunch of enemies, and then they switch over to like Iron Man, and they showed the Hulk, and I mean, it was fine, but it didn't really blow me away necessarily. Some of the stuff looked pretty clunky in terms of controls and animations, and they say it's from, of course, a pre-build or a build that's definitely not ready for retail, and good, I would hope not. But visually, I guess it looked okay. The character models are still a little bit off to me, but for the most part, the thing that really got me was the gameplay just looks basic. I don't know. It doesn't look like there's a lot really that pulls me in that's like, oh wow, that looks new. That looks really interesting. I don't know. I mean, it's the Avengers, which is cool, so like I'll check it out because of that, but like otherwise, if it wasn't for that IP, I'd probably just look at it and say that looks like a fairly generic action adventure game with some RPG elements thrown in there, because there will be some looting options as well, where they showed off different weapons that you could get with different properties, rarity, of course, different attributes, I'm sure, like strength and mana and all of that. That'll all still be there. And then they showed off some other footage for things like kind of co-op with Warzone, where you're building up your base, and it doesn't seem like what I was expecting necessarily to be, which was going to be more of like a action-oriented Destiny-style game, maybe, with kind of the opposite sort of what like DCUO is, which is more leaning into like the WoW side with the DC characters. Oh, and for any Project Cars fans, we saw, of course, Project Cars 3 get unveiled. We now know the release date. You can see the tweet here put out by Bandai Namco. It is coming August 28th. They say your ultimate driver journey in Project Cars begins August 28th. So, all right, I think that's a good time. And really, as long as it's not like in like the middle of this console release, like in like November, August is good. The thing that people were concerned about was that it looked very arcadey compared to like how before it was very sim oriented. But to be honest, if they can kind of get a little more in terms of like that arcade feel, they might actually pull some more people in. So I at least understand that. I do like racing games, so I'll probably at least check it out somewhat, gameplay videos to see, because I'm more of like on the line of like Forza, and I'm kind of hoping that maybe Gran Turismo, the new one, 7, is sooner than even I think, maybe early next year. But still interesting and good to know that Project Cars fans won't have to wait more than a few months. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with Pokemon Unite. Now, of course, we had this event. It was a live stream. People got really excited, right? It was like 11 minutes or something. We had heard that previously. So it was pretty clear, at least to me, it was probably going to be a focus around like one game. All right, it was probably gonna be a showcase. And then we started getting some rumors and some information about this being something for Tencent, which immediately, that's why you guys heard me say mobile game like 3 times leading up to this. I started to realize that that's what this would be, and it pretty much is. I mean, it's gonna be on the Switch as well. It's called Pokemon Unite, and it looks like it is indeed a take on a MOBA style game. I say a take because they themselves say it's not quite 100% like what traditional MOBA games are, but for the most part, looking at it, that's what it came off to me as exactly. Evan took a look at it as well and was mentioning different points that, yeah, look like, okay, this is very similar to League of Legends, for example. They showed off a lot of footage and they even played the game for a bit. It will have crossplay for cell phones and the Switch, so Android, iOS, and the Switch can all technically play together, it seems. But of course, it didn't go over well with fans. I mean, it is Tencent. Tencent's taking over like everything. It looks like they have their own developing studio. I believe it's pronounced Teamy is going to be developing this, and they've had some experience in the past for mobile MOBA games. And well, let's take a look. Yep, there is the like to dislike ratio with 153,000 dislikes to 72,000 likes, and it even, I think it actually topped trending. I think it was number 2 or number 1 for quite a while, accumulating over 2 million views at the time of this recording. So there were a lot of expectations for this, but I started to think more and more about it. If this was the next Let's Go game, if this was a Diamond and Pearl remake, why wouldn't it have just been the one more thing, right? In last week's presentation, Tencent, of course, and the Pokemon Company wanted this separate. They wanted it to be like its own thing so they could hold it up and say, hey, look, we have a Pokemon game. Tencent wants to be a part of pretty much everything. So yes, this is going to be a free to start game. And of course, that means microtransactions, maybe characters. Pokemon could be walled off between paywalls or in-game currency, I guess, that you earn. I would assume like League of Legends or any of those MOBA games that would be free, and then you got to do all kinds of stuff to get other characters. Now, I guess the interesting thing here is because it is using the Pokemon IP, the different Pokemon that you play as will evolve as you go through, and there is some strategy based around that in the game. Here's the funny thing about this. This MOBA game very well could be the Pokemon Company's, next to Pokemon Go, of course, one of the most lucrative games. These free-to-play style games, of course, that are on mobile phones, as long as they catch on, they'll probably make a ton of money. I think the other thing they have to do going forward is look into putting it on PCs as well. All right, so Switch, cell phones, and PC, all with crossplay. That could, of course, work. I don't know if this will catch on competitively. Maybe they'll try to get to that point. But yes, League of Legends, for example, is super lucrative. So obviously, Tencent, the Pokemon Company, got together and wanted to do something very similar overseas, different, of course, markets, whether it's in Korea or China or Japan, any of those are definitely target marketplaces for them as well. And then in the US also. So it'll be interesting to see how this all kind of shakes out with Pokemon Unite. While it definitely isn't really for the core Pokemon audience who's looking forward to the next Sword and Shield or the next Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee style game, this should, I think, find an audience out there somewhere. Next up, let's talk about Halo Infinite. Now, Halo, the Twitter account, tweeted out a video that was mostly just audio. Of course, it showed like an audio wave on screen that was supposed to mimic an incoming transmission. And the transmission was pretty interesting. One, it says, of course, the hour is approaching, which should be, of course, referencing that July event where Halo Infinite has to take center stage with gameplay, with the release date alongside of that Series X. Halo Infinite has to be, I think, the launch title. It's already been confirmed as being one of these smart delivery games, which is first-party Microsoft games, so like all of them will be. But the Series X, I think, needs Halo to launch with. This would be the first time a Halo game has launched with a generation for Microsoft since the original Xbox. And believe it or not, Halo Infinite, a lot of hype around this game. When they tweeted this out, it immediately jumped to trending. Tons of likes, retweets. People were really talking about Halo Infinite then, trying to figure out this message. Now, the message does mention the Banished, which the Banished is one of the factions you can play as in Halo Wars 2. And the Banished has like just a ton of different species and characters, all of these in there. So that would mean that Brutes could be returning. Now, Brutes haven't been touched by 343 that I know of at all. Like, they weren't in Halo 4 or 5, so that could be really cool. And it also comes back to the idea of what exactly is Halo Infinite going to be, because people are trying to place it in timelines. They're trying to figure out if it's like a reboot. What is this game? But, I mean, the title implies it's going to be like everything. So maybe the fact that even Brutes are coming back could really mean that. Could this be some massive war going on where all of these different faction stuff coming together that could lead to some very impressive battles, right, on the ground in this game? So like maybe space battles. A lot to take in here, and it's exciting stuff. I'm just ready to see the next Halo like fully in-game so I can check this out. It's time, right? It's time to get Halo Infinite. Brand new engine that's away from the engine they've been working with forever now. And of course, we can see it on the Series X. Exciting stuff. And I gotta say, I'm starting to think that Xbox event is going to be like the first, I would say the first week, maybe even, of July. Worst case, it'll probably be like midway through that second week. I think we're close. And that means that they might be announcing it either Friday or Monday. We'll see. I said this about that PlayStation event, and they did. They had to postpone it, but here's hoping I'm right about the Xbox event too. Next up, let's talk about Sony and HackerOne. Now, Sony has basically posted a profile now online to take bounties with hackers. So if you are someone who has found a vulnerability in the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation Network, you can actually take what you found, send it to Sony, and they will just pay you money. Seriously, they have a full page. They even posted it up on their blog to kind of raise awareness that they have this, obviously, so they can really get more ideas as to how their either network or their system is being hacked or vulnerable. I mean, they're basically saying, hey guys, hey, you've hacked the system, you've hacked the PlayStation Network. We're gonna now give you money to tell us how you did it. And you can see their page here, and it does range, by the way, in bounties. It can be up to, as they said on their page, up to $50,000 if it is a critical, like a serious issue with the PlayStation 4. Now, for the most part, a lot of them have been like low, so like $500, $400, $300. In fact, they just posted this, it seems like a day or two ago, and they've already had 88 reports resolved and an average bounty of $400. So they're already paying out plenty of people for different bugs that are being found. And I mean, it's a smart way because money talks to that kind of stuff, right? If you know, of course, any bugs and Sony's willing to pay you to resolve them, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's a straightforward transaction. You tell me how you're hacking the system, and we'll just pay you money. I mean, it's a clever idea, and other companies, I know Nintendo's done this before, so it seems to at least work and get results, as we're seeing here with bugs being turned in. But hey, I guess if you yourself have figured out how to hack the PlayStation Network or the PlayStation 4 or know of some smaller bugs, send them into Sony and you might get your PlayStation 5 basically paid for. And in our last bit of news, I am happy to say Biomutant has resurfaced. Yes, people have been asking me about this on and off. Hey, what happened to Biomutant? It's gone. It disappeared. I think we saw it last at like Gamescom 2018. So it's seriously been almost 2 years or something since we've seen it. But it has resurfaced thanks to IGN and their own Summer Games event that they are doing. There was a whole video. It was pretty good. It's like 10, 11 minutes. And they showed quite a bit of gameplay. And the game looks way different than what we saw before, and they described quite a bit about it. There was a lot of information about creating your character, crafting different items, armor, weapons, and a big open world. I think they said an 8x8 kilometer world that you can explore that is, for the most part, entirely open. They said after the first half an hour to an hour, you can just go do what you want. Now, unfortunately, they didn't say when the game is coming out. They said that their team that's working on it is pretty small. I think at one point he mentioned like 18 or 20 people are working on this, but it seems that THQ Nordic is giving them a lot of time to make sure this game is good and that it's done, because they're even mentioning that right now they are mostly just working out bugs so that the game, you know, doesn't crash on you or do some weird thing where you clip through the wall. And because it's such a big open world, they're also trying to make sure that you know where you're going and all this. It was a very good presentation for this game, and I'm pretty excited for it. I just want to know when it's coming out. It's certainly not coming out this year, at least I don't see that happening. I'm thinking it's going to be mid, even late 2021, and it's coming to the Xbox One, the PlayStation 4, and the PC. So make sure you go check out Biomutant by THQ Nordic, because it looks like they're putting in quite a bit of care to this game that is a new IP, so we'll see how it goes. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is by Six, saying, demo available for people who ordered the digital version. Demos are meant to encourage you to buy the game. Really, at this point, Activision is just using the demo to get you to pre-order the game so you can essentially get early access, quote unquote, right? That's the idea. They're giving you a level to just skate around in and free skate, and in hopes that you'll want to play the game like a month in advance, and you'll pre-order it anyway digitally. Most likely when the game drops, that demo will then just show up on the store, the PlayStation Store, or the Xbox, or whatever. It'll just become free to download. That's at least what I think will happen, because otherwise that means the demo will just go away and they can, as you're saying, use it to then sell the game, right? So it's more or less being used as a ploy to get you to pre-order, to give you early access. If you're not really interested in playing it necessarily early, just wait for the game to come out, and most likely I think that demo will just pop up and you can download it, play it, try it out for yourself, and then buy it digitally that day and just download. Digital pre-orders are weird unless you just want to preload the game, but I would be shocked if this game was even like 30 or 40 gigabytes. I don't think it's gonna be massive. Ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's Pokemon Unite. It's certainly not for most of the core Pokemon audience, but what do you think about this, and were you disappointed with what they presented there after a lot of it was hyped up, I would say, by the Pokemon company online? And then what do you think about Halo Infinite and that Halo teaser that we saw on Twitter? Are you excited for it? Are you excited for Microsoft's big July reveal event for their first party studios? And then what do you think about Biomutant, especially if this is the first time you have seen it? Let me know down below, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.